can I just get you both to introduce yourselves?
I'm Anna Collier.
And I'm Andy Collier.
So we're going to go straight into the questions. So what were your reactions to finding out you were going to have triplets?
So, a surprise, complete surprise. I was first of all told that it was twins. They found 2 heartbeats, and I was like, oh, that's absolutely fantastic. Wow, amazing. And then I was told, oh, hold on, there's another heartbeat. And obviously informed it was going to be triplets. So rather than being completely ecstatic at this point, I just thought, oh no, this is going to be complicated. I've always been quite a small size, wasn't actually quite sure how this would work. But obviously amazing, but I just knew it wasn't just going to be a regular pregnancy. So I rang Andy and said, I'm pregnant, very pregnant. And his reaction was?
Shock. Disbelief.
When I realised I was going into labour, my waters actually broke, which I hadn't actually prepared for because I was going to have a C-section, and so this was never going to happen. So wasn't quite sure what was going on. Andy at the time happened to be at his GP's, and I phoned him to say to come back to drive me to the Chelsea Westminster Hospital. And the doctor grabbed the phone off him and said, get her an ambulance now.
We didn't know what to expect until 2 hours before. I'd never been in an intensive care unit, and everything was all seemed to be sort of quite hunky-dory around us, but it wasn't. And we didn't know what was ahead of us. Being an emergency cesarean was sort of quite traumatic to say the least. There was 19 members of medical staff in the room, so it was whenever one was pulled out, not breathing, given to one of the medical staff, taken to a cot bed, and then sort of minor resuscitation, and then that one was whisked off, and then number 2, second thing, and you're just sitting there and sort of not seeing obviously the gory detail, but obviously just all these skin and bones being passed from one medical member of staff to another. And then Ben, who was the third one, he was hiding. He was sort of, I think, about 4 or 5 minutes later than the other 2, and you could tell the staff were a little bit concerned that knowing another one was coming out, but he wasn't yet. And then they're all out. I don't know how long it took. They were just whisked off, and the next sort of chapter in the start of intensive care.
When I saw my babies for the first time, I was wheeled into intensive care in a wheelchair. So I peered into the incubators, and it was quite a sight, seeing tiny babies covered in life-saving equipment, and you weren't sure whether they were going to live or die. I remember going back into my room on the ward and just crying and thinking, are they going to live? It was, a really worrying time. There were many distressing days that we had. They had to be resuscitated numerous times, and when that happened, the doctors would come running in. If the baby was on either myself or Andy, they would be taken away from us and resuscitated.
After about, I had a bit 2.5 months ill, but influenza as well, which they put a yellow tape across the floor in intensive care unit, so only the Collier entourage could go across this yellow line. So again, that was another, just as we thought we were sort of starting to make progress. They got influenza. How, why, what, I don't know. But that was a massive knockback as well. And then Emily, we saw her being resuscitated at about 2.5 months. You think you're sort of getting through it, and we were getting through it, and then we thought we'd be going home in a couple of weeks or something, and then this little thing stopped breathing again, and you think not ready to take home, and they're not ready to do anything.
When the day finally came that we were able to take our triplets home after being in the NICU for 3.5 months, which added up to 101 days, was one of the happiest and most relieving times of our lives. We'd spent so long leaving our babies in the hospital each day, never sure what faced us the following day, and to have them all at home with us was what we had dreamed of for so long, and now it was real.
Oh, well done, guys.
Seeing the triplets growing up into what they have become today is truly amazing. To think of these 2-pound babies fighting for their lives, and there is not a day that goes by that I don't look at the triplets in amazement at how far they have come, and now here they are, healthy, active teenagers.
Okay, so can you introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Isabel.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Emily.
And can you remind me of your ages?
We are all 17 years old.
Yes, good. Okay. So, how does it feel knowing you nearly spent 4 months in NICU in your early life?
Well, it's quite scary to feel that because obviously people was dying there, and especially in the intensive care units, obviously you don't have the fact of really how bad it was. And I'm just so grateful, the doctors and nurses for keeping us alive, and supporting our parents, although just making sure overall we're all right, and they're the reason why we're here today.
It was quite a strange time. Obviously, we don't remember it, but it must have been a terrifying time for Mum and Dad because obviously we were in there so long. All normal babies got to go home, the first week after they were born, and, in 3 months they were happy in their homes, and we were still in the hospital. And I think it would have been quite scary because Mum and Dad used to have to come travel every single day to come see us. And we were just there in hospital, but we're also grateful that they were able to get us better, and we were able to eventually leave the hospital, and we're all fine now.
The three little miracles found a couple of years after we got the kids home, and we sort of were becoming parents, and the kids were sort of more settled and sort of out the other danger and becoming toddlers. We thought, how do we give something back to the Chelsea Westminster and the medical profession that has saved the triplets' lives? We picked them up, we left hospital, we were back many, many times, but how do you thank them? You can't take a box of chocolates for a bottle of champagne. So we had this sort of harebrained idea of why don't we sort of try and raise some money to buy an incubator, give something back physically to help the next ones. And then our little ideas grew a bit. Rather than one incubator, what if we tried to raise money for 3 incubators for obvious reasons? To date, we've raised just under £400,000. We set a mission statement out there. We'd raise 250, or we wanted to raise up to £250,000 for the Chelsea Westminster, which we never thought we'd even get close to it at all. It was just a bit of a harebrained dinner table idea that we had, and generosity just went ballistic. And after a couple of years, we hit that target, and then gift aid we were still receiving, and then other donations, and money was coming in. And we went on to buy a couple of incubators for Hampton General Hospital, and then we've bought other brain scan and life-saving neonatal equipment for 3 hospitals down at Devon. Why Northampton Hospital? I was born there. That's the basic connection. To be brutally honest, we had extra money that friends and clients and anybody around the world had raised for us. So we thought, where do we spend it? We'd donated £250,000 worth of equipment to the Chelsea Minster, which we set out to do. Never thought we'd get there. So Northampton General Hospital didn't have any surgical incubators, so that was the reason for that. And Devon hospitals, we've got just a holiday allegiance to Devon, and they seem to be in need of some equivalent, so we were able to give a lot back to them as well.
Chelsea and Westminster's reaction to the charity was delighted to be receiving these sums of money. I worked with Gary Hartnell, the consultant, to purchase the life-saving equipment, so they would say what was needed and I would arrange for it to be purchased, so that we knew that our mission statement was to buy life-saving equipment and we were delivering that. So the Chelsea and Westminster were obviously thrilled, and it also has meant that we've had a link with them going forward, and we've kept in contact with them throughout the triplets' lives so far.
They also were able to fund the purchase of ventilators, which babies on intensive care need, because they can't always breathe for themselves, and it's important that we had the best ventilators we could get to help look after them and breathe for them.
My reaction at finding out that they had set up a charity, again, words fail me. I know how much they have already been through being here in the hospital, and the fact that they have the capacity to think about others and to give back it's just incredible. It's something that always really humbles me and makes me really emotional, because I can't imagine what it's like to have babies in a neonatal unit and all the worry and stress. So as I said, to then think about others after being through such an experience, and to have the energy and the compassion and the drive and the capacity to do what they've done is really quite something.
It's amazing. I think it's an incredible journey. It's a wonderful story. I mean, my role was the smallest, shortest part of their journey, but and I remember them clearly where they were very tiny, very carefully coming out for a cesarean section. But I think what they're doing now is a big, impressive use of that story. Yeah.
Watching Anna with the limber torch, it was an extraordinary day. The build up to it, and what it meant, and what happened on the day. In 2012, the best for a year of our adult lives, really, the Olympics and the Queen's Jubilee. Anna got nominated and got selected to run with the torch along the King's Road in London, 400 yards from Chelsea Westminster Hospital, where it all happened. And looking up the King's Road and seeing literally 10 deep, both sides of the King's Road, all the entourage of buses and police cars and outriders, and then seeing little Anna run down holding the Olympic torch. There's made it absolutely extraordinary, and kids loved it. Kids were there. They'll always remember it. And yeah, very proud moment indeed.
Going back inside the NICU after 17 years was an emotional experience. Seeing parents sitting beside the incubators where we once were and hearing the beeps from the monitors brought me back to those days, watching over the 3 incubators, never knowing what each day would hold. I felt so grateful and relieved that those days were behind us and the triplets are now happy, healthy young adults. It really was incredible to be reunited with some of the doctors and nurses who saved the triplets' lives, and for us to be able to say thank you to them in person.
It's amazing to think that we survived. Who would think 3 babies who were there for all those months would still be alive?